Well, hello there, guys. Agrippa Maxenius here, coming at you with a preview of Afghanistan 11. Now, full disclosure, I am a Slitherine employee. For any of you think that that's going to affect my opinion of this game, feel free to click off this video. Most of you guys know that I joined this company and moved all the way to Milan, Italy, just because I love their games. I've loved their games since I started this channel, and it's an absolute honor to be able to work with these guys. This is a game made by the same folks that made Vietnam 65, a game which I have numerous Let's Plays on the channel, every single soldier, but this one takes place in the War of Afghanistan. Now, you can be for or against the War of Afghanistan. I want everybody to realize this is a game. It's that simple, and we're going to go ahead and jump in to this game. So, we're going to jump into the campaign. Now, for those of you that are new, first of all, if you're new to Vietnam 65, definitely do the tutorials. If you're new to Afghanistan 11, still do the tutorials. You're going to learn a lot because of them. And actually, some of these, like the Battle of Tora Bora and Camp Rhino, are really, really fun. But we're jumping right into the Battle of Lashkargad. And we're going to see what's to offer in this very, very early stage. Of course, there's a ton of more stuff coming, and we're going to have to wait for that. But for now, we get a look at this particular part. Now, this is one awesome part about the game. You can see the president, the current president of Afghanistan right now. There are elections in this game, and using our political capital, we can actually affect those elections in our favor. In this case, the president of Afghanistan is Walid Abdo, and his saying is, we need to unite. Now remember, there's 3 different candidates for each election. If we're looking over here, his social reform is actually pro-American, which means the intelligence we gather from villages is increased by 10%. But for security and corruption, he is pro-Taliban. PP on enemy kills down 100. PP refers to the political points in the game, of course, and they are very, very important. So if PP is down 100, we're not going to get as many political points for killing Taliban or militants. And intelligence, he's pro-American, cooldown period of 1 turn before we get that very, very important intelligence. So let's jump right in. For those of you that have played Vietnam 65, you'll know that trying to basically win the hearts and minds of the people is extremely important, and it's no different here. We need to make sure that the Afghan people know we're not here to harm them, we're here to help them. Now, one amazing thing about this game is, just like in Vietnam 65, where you can deliver ammunition, you also have to deliver rations to your men. You can also create a UN supply truck and send it to a village to get them to have more respect for you. We can also go ahead and collect some FOB supply. This is for our forward operating base, and since we're actually going to one of our forward operating bases, I think we definitely want to take that. Now, these are supply trucks, and they're great for transporting stuff like fuel, water, etc., UN supplies. But if we're going to head out into the bush, we probably want to take an MRAP. And if we're going to take an MRAP, we probably want to go ahead and pick up a squad to take with us. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to jump over here, and we're going to buy a few U.S. infantry squads. Why the hell not? I'm also going to get an Apache for those pesky Taliban that like to hide out in the mountains. But let's go ahead and grab that MRAP. An Echo Squadron is actually in this MRAP right here. I'm going to pick up a Bravo Company squad, and we are going to head down the road. Now, you got to realize, guys, just like in Afghanistan, there are IEDs. The great thing about this game is if you're on the roads, you're going to move a lot faster. If we go off the roads, we're obviously going to lose some movement points, but we also risk running into some IEDs during this movement phase. So let's go ahead, copy solid. We're going to go ahead and, oh my goodness, we've already spotted some Taliban fighters. Now, if we were in a supply truck, these fighters would probably waste us before we had a chance. We could go ahead and open fire on them, but why open fire on them when we've got these beautiful F-16 airstrikes for 200 political points? Goodbye, Mr. Taliban. So, we've just taken out some of the enemy, and obviously, as you could imagine, in a game like this, taking out an enemy definitely wins you some hearts and minds, makes the people less scared of, well, what do you know, my friends, more Taliban. And actually, these are not necessarily Taliban. Now, if you guys start playing the game, you'll start noticing the difference between the Taliban and just the regular insurgents or militants in the area. Now, let me be clear, both are hostile to our forces, and there's no changing that. I'm not so sure I want to tangle with those guys, to be honest with you. They seem pretty nasty, and they seem like they could do some damage. So why don't we take this Apache helicopter and see if he can't take out the Taliban, or the militants, excuse me. We're, of course, going to go ahead and select the engage target from range option. Oh, yes, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Now, I'd love to move those supply trucks out of the way, too, because I want to bring some supplies to these villages to help the people, make sure that they understand that we're not out here to hurt them. We're out here to help. But for now, we're going to keep moving. And another squad of Taliban, or another squad of militants, that's the third we've spotted. So a lot of action right off the bat, but as you can see, our hearts and minds is increasing. And much like Vietnam 65, a large part of this game is randomized. So you could find a map, or you could find a particular situation where you're not actually encountering a lot of enemies, especially if the elections go your way. If you get a totally pro-American candidate and your hearts and minds are high, you're not going to have as many of these attacks. Unfortunately, in this case, we have a lot of enemies to fight, or fortunately for you guys, let's put it that way. So I am going to engage 63%. Nice shooting, boys. Absolutely beautiful. That's 3 enemy targets taken down. And, of course, that is just unbelievable shooting by our guys. Really great work. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get another MRAP. I suggest, and this is just my suggestion, I suggest sending your MRAPs out first, because if they get into any contact, anything crazy like that, they're going to know what to do. You know, they're going to be pretty much ready to know what to do. We've also got a Buffalo. Now, the Buffalo units are quite interesting, and actually, I said I was going to get an MRAP, but I lied. I'm going to go ahead and get a supply truck. They're not as strong as the MRAP, and if we come under attack with our supply truck, we are in serious trouble. But what the actual other vehicle can do here, let's take a look here, it can actually find mines. So the Buffalo, it can locate mines. Forgive me for this, the Buffalo is also in charge of building bridges, constructing roads, constructing water depots, etc. This is not like Vietnam 65 where you can just build a forward operating base and that's it. You can actually add to your forward operating base. You can even add a medical facility to treat your wounded men, which you guys, for those of you that have played Vietnam 65, you're probably clapping your hands because you know how awesome that is. Now this thing, I can't remember, and forgive me, once again, I am not a tester for the game. I am merely an employee at Slitherine. I do believe they can deactivate mines. If they can't directly deactivate mines, one thing is absolutely certain, and that is that your infantry, just like in Vietnam 65, can deactivate mines. So if you spot them, you want to be very careful. And a lot of the times you'll learn about the mines around you by, yes, going to the locals, going to the villages, getting to know them, etc. So let's grab our Black Hawk, and we're going to try to load. Okay, Golf Squadron, I believe, is inside it. Awesome. We're going to take this Black Hawk, and we're going to try to get near this village. And Oscar Mike, of course, is on the move, moving through the hills of Afghanistan. And actually, I messed up, guys. I did not load a unit for transport. Newbie mistake. Total newbie mistake. Okay, well, we're going to bring the Black Hawk back to base. And it's as simple as clicking this button. In Afghanistan 65, you always had to select a certain unit to do that. But we're going to do this. We're also going to create a UN truck. And we're going to deliver aid to this village. It's going to take us a while to get there. But the people are going to be very, very happy to get some aid from the Americans. They might even trust us a little bit more. And obviously, that's always good for us. So there's our other MRAP. Let's go ahead and load another squad onto the MRAP. And I'm going to take Foxtrot Company. Oh, I said I was going to take Foxtrot. I lied. That's okay. Keep on moving. Now, if the MRAP does hit an IED, it's a little more resistant than the supply wagons, the supply vehicles, I should say. So if you are going to fire on enemy, you probably want to have that MRAP. And look at that. We've got some more enemies, but we're out of turns. We're out of movement points. One thing I could do is unload the transported unit right there and try to engage the Taliban. This is going to be really dangerous, but let's go for it, boys. Okay, target eliminated, and those were Taliban troops. Those were not just regular militia. So we've got to be careful. We know that they're around. We know that they could cause us some serious problems. And next turn, I'm going to pick those boys up. I'm not leaving them in the middle of the desert. But another thing we have to keep in mind is if we go all the way up here, we've got our forward operating base. And as you can see, we've got a road leading to it. In this game, roads are extremely important, especially if your roads are connected to villages. They can get intelligence there faster, or you can reach the people faster. And obviously, when roads are connected to places like forward operating bases, they really, really help movement, because moving through such a vast country, such deadly terrain, can be a real burden, to put it simply. Let's go ahead and end our turn, guys. I could bring some more trucks with us, but I think I'm going to go ahead and just say, nah, not this time. Now let's take a look. We've got our beautiful transport helicopter, and I am going to bring him back to base. Sorry, Blackhawk, you're not going to get much action this turn, but that's okay. You can refuel here at base. Now, we've got a few more infantry squads. We've got a supply truck. And one of these supply trucks is actually carrying supplies for the forward operating base. So I'm going to send him forward. A little risky what I'm doing here because he's going on a road that could be mined. There could be booby traps, could be IEDs. And I really should be sending the MRAPs in front of him. Let's just be totally honest. So let's go ahead and load our boys up. Roger that. And we're going to head straight for this Afghan village, guys. It's going to be dangerous to get there, no doubt, but you got to take some risks occasionally to help people. This UN truck, as well, is going to be heading to that Afghan village. Now, let me make it clear. The enemy doesn't care if you have a UN truck. If you are an American, or hell, if you're an outsider, they are definitely going to destroy you. Now, I see some mines right there. Once again, I don't have enough knowledge to be able to know if we can deactivate those mines simply by rolling over them. Repair a vehicle or structure, construct artillery. Well, we're about to find out. And at least we'll find out if these are mine-resistant vehicles or not. Boom! Definitely not mine-resistant. Although, you know what? Seems like we're doing just fine. We've still got 1 point of movement remaining. And unfortunately, we just got attacked by some militants. Oh, yeah, not great. Now, if we want to build some new units, and we do, unfortunately, need a new Buffalo, we are going to go ahead and just purchase one. So let's get a Buffalo. We'll be able to use him later to resupply and assist in expanding our forward operating base. So we're going to send the Buffalo out. But now we know there's enemy units in the area. And there's one really cool thing we can do in this game, and that's the intelligence drone. Everybody loves a good old intelligence drone. The attack happens somewhere over here, so I'm assuming there might be some enemies here. I could be wrong, but we're going to call that drone in. And as you can see, it doesn't seem like we spotted anything. In the meantime, looks like we have the supply truck. We've also got Echo Squad and their MRAP, and we're going to send Echo Squad up here to this village. Hope we don't hit any IEDs on the way. I might have just jinxed myself, though. Not bad. And we've also got this squadron, but it's going to take a while for them to get to this village. So let's go ahead. Let's get Echo Squad. We're going to unload our transport unit. And I believe we do have to wait a turn before we unload them because we've already used up those movement points. But when you see those tire fires burning in the villages, you know that they need your help or maybe trying to lure you into a trap. You can never be 100% certain in this game. As for the supply truck, I'm moving him, of course, north towards the base. But we're going directly into an area where we last had an attack, so this probably is not something I would recommend. I would be sending an MRAP ahead of those guys. Unfortunately, we don't have that opportunity at this moment. We're also going to send our beautiful Apache in, sort of the modern-day Cobra, if you will, and hopefully he can get the job done. Let's end the turn. Okay, guys, this is one really awesome thing, and that is that news stories pop up, whether you're doing well, whether you're doing poorly, whether an election is won or lost. Here, the probability of IEDs in the theater is reduced. That's actually good news for us. So that means that improvised explosive devices, currently, for this turn, we're not going to see a lot of them, and that definitely helps our movement around the region. So now, let's go ahead, let's drop off our troops, and we're going to visit this village. Not good. This is a pro-Taliban village. Now, we could return to headquarters, or we could sweep the area for IEDs. Of course, I'm going to search for IEDs, and it actually increases our hearts and minds score when the people know that we are fighting on their behalf. Another thing you can do to increase that hearts and minds score is, of course, bring in food supplies with your UN vehicles. But, of course, unlike Vietnam 65, you've got a lot more to worry about. Namely, you've got to keep your boys with rations, you've got to keep your forward operating bases operating too, and you've got to also add with your Buffaloes to your forward operating bases. Unlike Vietnam 65, you can build infirmaries, you can build ammo depots, you can build artillery positions, all in an FOB, and that is very, very important in this game. Okay, looks like they spotted some mines. Now this time we know that the only people that are going to take those mines out are going to be our troops. So we'll start moving towards that area, but we're not going to be moving any vehicles into that zone. Well guys, I promised that I'd give you a preview of the game, and that's what you're getting today. It's a preview. Once the game is fully released, I will do a full review and a full gameplay. I absolutely love games like this. There's really very few that I could say I am this obsessed with. I think you can probably tell by my voice. So if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and have an awesome, awesome day.